Well, it's me again. It's after work and it's bloody boiling. I don't know why. It's like still hanging in at 35 degrees at nearly 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So I've decided I've got to keep cracking on and do something. So what I have here is my capping plate. And I'll put a photograph somewhere. That's going to cap the front of the cab. And from this, I'm going to make a plate that sticks out. It'll all make sense when I'm done. From that, there's going to be a plate that comes out that supports a bar, like a light bar or something, a bit like a roll bar that goes from one side of the cab to the other. So there's two of these, and they'll meet so that I can eventually run a pair of roof rack legs that come down the A-pillar. Probably explained that really badly. And then these will attach to these brackets. They're going to be a bit awkward because they're going to run between two exterior bodywork panels, and that's going to make it quite challenging. So I have to stick to about 3mm, which is plenty of strength, but there's some really freaky and awkward angles, as you can see. So I'm going to fill weld these now and clean it up, and I will keep you posted. So that fits really nicely there. So it's nice and tight in there. That will stop it going downwards. I'll put a bolt in here. This is nice and tight on this flange under here. I don't know if you can see that. Just tilt the camera back a bit. Down there. And it's nice and tight along there as well. There's a bit of a gap there. There's nothing I can do about that. And it fits nicely up here. So bolt hole through here, here, and two on the sides, which I can access from the inside, and then it's easier to bolt. And I'll show you the equivalent. So that's basically how it goes. So that's on top of there, like that, and that's sturdy. So the other one I did yesterday, took my earmuffs out because I can't hear myself, and that's this one here. So this is the wiper arm. As it goes, there's this maximum rotation. So hopefully that's not going to be a problem. The bolt at the top to stop the whole thing slipping down. Not that it will because of these two and these two. So it's extremely sturdy. And there's a backing plate behind that. Two of them actually, one for this lot and one for this lot. So one for the back of these, one for the back of that. That's what will be in there. Where the line is the approximate spot where the panel coming out, or the piece that's coming out, has to go. Now unfortunately I'll put this bolt a little bit tight there. Might get away with it and have it as some sort of support so it stops the bolt spinning, but we'll see how we go with that. I may have to adjust that. So when we do this one, this time I will put the panel on, the front panel on first, and then I'll mark it roughly. Then what I'll do is I'll put the panel on, the body panel, which covers all this lot here, and I will mark it, cut the pieces out, and then get it tack welded to see how it goes. But first I'm going to drill the holes in here that will clear anything inside, so I've got to double check that. So there we go, so that's second one done. see, the outer plates are in, and the what they call them, backing plates are in as well. Hold on a second. So, and this is the driver's side, which is a lot more awkward because of the throttle, which I've had to remove. So you may or may not see, I didn't bring the torch, but there's two backing plates. Alright, now that we've got some light, you can see there's one backing plate there. And I've kinked them sort of, they're like an open U shape, and then there's the bent one here. So I couldn't get them as two pieces because the folds in the panels are quite different. So that's the bottom one, and it follows the contours of the actual front of the cab, and there's the top one. So there you have it, very tight part of the wheel. Nice sounding V8 over there. Don't get many of those in the UK, do you? Anyway, that's the general area of where it is. And now I'm going to put complete front panel on. I've ground down the gal so I can put the plate in. Same on the other side. That's what I'm going to do now. Yeah, that V8, which you can just see here, rather, I don't want to film it because the kids are out now, is the young lady across the road. She's going to the ball. It's a graduation ball in Australia. I'll show you the back of it when it goes. Yep, only in Australia. Alright, back to the panel. So the front panel's in there, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go and get the plates and offer them up to the brackets, and I'm hoping where I clean them up is about where they're going to go. They're going to tilt slightly this way. I'm going to follow the contour of the bracket of the panel, and hopefully the other one will butt up. There is about a 3 to 4 mil gap there. That's if I take the rubber seal out, so hopefully that's going to work. So here are the plates, and I've marked them and pre-drilled them for the bar that's going to go across to give them even more rigidity. So this one is the driver's side D. So that's going to go on here. It a little bit. It's not quite there, but it's close. So I've done this a few times already, but that basically goes on there, and where it rests on that panel, which is about there, is where I'm going to tack weld it, and you can see how it leans in a little bit. I think that's going to be part of the way I'm going to do it, otherwise the panels are not going to fit. If I squared it off like this, you can see the gap there. There's no way that's going to fit. So it has to go like that, and we'll have to deal with the crossbar at a later date. Anyway, so I'm just going to settle with it a little bit. I don't want to take too much because they're exactly the same, bar a little bit. So I don't want to change the slope, if that makes any sense. Perfect, but obviously when you weld shrink you want to pull that way, so it's trying to go that way a little bit, but I'm hoping when I weld the other side it'll straighten up. So I'm just going to try a panel on there and hopefully there's not too much play there. Not sure if you can see this, but apart from that strip needs to be fed through, you can see it fits reasonably well. This gap I'll put the seal back in, and I think this one I'll just put some rubber on each side, some flat rubber, and then continue the seal under here. So I'll have to cut it because really don't want any weathering going in there. Even if it means putting some sort of flat bit of rubber along there and sticking it on one of the panels. But if that stays where it is, the bolts line up down there, and I think it lines up on the inside. I don't want to open it because I've got the seal in properly along here. The worst part is there's a little clasp here, like a wheel and a hook, which you have to slide up into it like that, and that's now in because it can't move. So I think that's pretty good. Looks pretty good. That's far away enough from the cab. I'd like someone to, because I can't do it, is to roll the I wish this camera would stay on. Roll the bar so it has a very gradual arc in it. But I've pre-made the flange for the bar. It's going to be a 40 by 40 SHS, probably 1.6 mil thick, and eventually I will, there's some screw holes here for the original handle that was here. I'll make a bracket that meets up with the actual 40 mil SHS. Alright, I can call that a success. So what I'm going to do now is do the other side, and then I'll take a measurement of the angle with a sliding bevel, So when I'm welding it properly on the bench, I know I'm on within millimeters really, if that, because that just fits there. It's maybe a 2mm gap, enough to get some rubber seal on there. Awesome, let's go. So I've got the 40mm SHS, which is right there. I've cut it to size. Now I'm prepping the flanges that are going to attach to the bar before it goes on the actual, I call them elephant ears because they look like elephant ears, on the truck itself. Because I made this funky shape to match the elephant ears, it was going to be really difficult to square up the square SHS so it sits right on the truck. So what I've done is I've eventually worked it out, and I've drilled tiny little 3mm holes in the corners when they were sandwiched together, so that I can line up the corners, like this is the SHS scrap. I can line up the corners exactly like so, and the idea being obviously those holes will disappear and I can weld straight over them, and that will be a job done, and hopefully they'll both be the same. If the worst case scenario happens, I can slightly adjust the holes, make them slightly bigger, and it'll fit fine. Because I want a nice weld, I'm going to dismantle it. I'll just tack the corners and do it on the floor, because this is a show weld. I don't want it to look manky. So you can see I've tacked it all in. I'm going to unbolt it now and fully weld it. It doesn't need it because it's solid as a rock. I can hang off it. But there we go. I like to make things nice and strong. The second one done, and we'll just give that a good wire brush, let it cool down so it doesn't warp, and yeah, that's basically it. those two strengthening brackets in. You can just about see them. One on the left, one on the right, and it angles up to that bolt up there. So I'm going to tighten them up, and they should give it plenty of strength. So now I'm going to go on the outside, put the rest of the nuts on.